The strangest feeling is all around me.
Yeah. So let's move into happy things. You have a brand new album out. I'm looking forward to getting into it. And the title of the album kind of harkens to Halloween here in about a month, Haunted
Right.
Melody.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of the vision for this album.
Well, you were speaking of happy times. There's a fair amount of sort of sadness that's around the recording because it came about during the pandemic and right around the time that my mother was diagnosed with cancer, actually. So, which was about 5 months in. So, and I was um, stuck inside and had no idea what was um, sort of to come. And so I began to pull material for either a performance piece or a possible recording. And I think the isolation of the experience, coupled with my own sort of family issues, um, played into the choices that I made. And I was also in a relationship long distance with somebody in Europe, which also fostered this deeper dive into material that was not strictly North American. So all of these forces kind of came together, um, and then I was back and forth to Europe when we were able to all travel, but that took a while. Um, and so that was kind of the start of all of it. And then when I was able to get into a studio with live musicians, we were able to do that.
Yeah.
So
And you have a wonderful ensemble of musicians around you. How did you select the musicians? How did the whole cast come together to make this recording?
I have worked with most of these musicians, um, some for 10 years, some for 4 or 5. There are really only um, Bill McBurney, who plays flute on 2 of the tracks, is extraordinary, and I had wanted to work with him for a long time, but had not until this. Um, Everyone else I had worked with, live and in studio. So, um, and the thing is, when you have that relationship musically and personally, and you know what other people are capable of doing, um, and you've got great arrangements, and you're prepared, it comes together very easily. You know, musicians at this level don't need a lot of rehearsal and don't need many takes when you're technically that good. And basically, I started with a short recording session in 2022 and then went in with full band, and that was it. And then it took a little bit of time. There were a few additions remotely, um, because again, I was traveling back and forth to Europe, um, and it was actually quite easy because I was arranging and choosing based on who I was playing with.
Yeah.
You know, my attitude as a singer is that it can't all be about me.
Yeah.
So I'm very much thinking of the specific people that I'm going to be collaborating with and to their strengths and just being very prepared,
Yeah.
you know, in whether it's recording or whether it's live,
Yeah.
um, because then it kind of plays itself.
Yeah.
So,
So was obviously there was loss, there was heartbreak that went into the construction of this. But now that you look in the rear view, it's out, people are listening, it's out in the world. Is there something cathartic about this? Is there a silver lining that goes in to this actual document being out into the world now?
Um, is there a silver lining? Well, like I said, during the pandemic, life continued, and
Yeah.
and unfortunately, there's been a lot of loss that has continued throughout the process of getting this recording finished and out into the world because both of my parents passed away last year.
Wow.
And the relationship that I was just speaking of only very recently ended. And actually, I've only just come back to Canada after living in Portugal off and on for a number of years. So that's the thing about, music and art and creativity. It takes on different casts, colors, depending on your particular life circumstance. So what it felt like when I began the process is quite different than how I feel about it now.
Yeah.
So it takes on, while it most simplistically is a kind of relationship arc recording, it has a whole other layer because of family loss and whatnot. Pieces that were in place when I put it together are no longer there. So um, it's it's cathartic, yes, um, and kind of heavy, but my attitude is that it's for others to enjoy or to respect or take in as they take in.
Yeah.
My own personal, issues or whatnot are sort of irrelevant when somebody else needs to have their own experience
Yeah.
of the work.
So let me ask you this. The one thing, especially in America, you know, what's happening in our political system, what has transpired between us and Canada is absolutely something I didn't vote for, and I find appalling.
Hmm.
Um,
Me too.
but during this time, we need to have music. We need to have things that are going to kind of take us away from what's happening and make us feel hopeful. Do you find an extra level of what you're doing in this modern day and era of what's going on in the world to be you're more focused on that? It's something that's more in your mind when you're performing and putting music out and doing performances. Is that something that's a part of your mentality now?
The thing is that in a way, how do I say this? It's not conscious, but I feel like a lot of my life and work musically has is inherently political
Yeah.
because I mean, life is political, art is political.
Hmm.
Um, where you live, what job you have, what causes you support. Um, but as somebody who's a card-carrying member of the LGBTQ community, um, I've always been very aware of being an outsider
Yeah.
and that my life, my existence is unfortunately made political,
Hmm.
which is, of course, totally absurd because, in
Yeah.
fact, it's really quite boring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that interesting, you know what I mean? And, but that's not the reality of the world.
Yeah.
So, um, this is not a badge of honor, but it's not a very common occurrence, particularly for male vocalists to sing about same-sex attraction on a recording.
Yeah.
It's veiled, and I do that too, but I also don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
Um, I remember the song, it was a Jill Sobule, I Kissed a Girl, and that was such a revelation. Oh my God,
Yeah.
call the press. And I mean, it's completely ridiculous, but um, I don't do it as a political act, but it is a political act in a way.
Yeah.
I'm hope for the day when it isn't,
Yeah.
because who cares? Um, but yes, I mean, I think whether we're in strife or we're in times of peace, um, everybody's going through something.
Yep.
No one's getting off scot-free. Somebody has lost a parent, lost a relationship, you know, sitting in their bedroom crying, feeling alone, feeling whatever. And um, because story and narrative of a song is so critical to what I do,
Yeah.
that's what I want to get across. And so I don't know, I'm being a bit wordy. I don't know if I answered your
No, no, no,
question, but
you absolutely did. Absolutely. I remember interviewing Fred Hirsch years ago.
oh,
And
fabulous. Yeah,
yeah,
fabulous
and
humans.
he's wonderful, and nothing was front and center about lifestyle because that hasn't been something that he volunteers, and he doesn't shy away from it. He doesn't volunteer, and I just don't like to interject that out and
Hmm.
out because it needs to become just a part of, we're humans and we make music and we have relationships and
Right.
all of these things. And unfortunately, like you said, you nailed it eloquently. You know, the fact that you have to be political because this is the way you feel comfortable on this planet, it's just terrible. I mean, it's like we should all just feel like we can live our lives without having to think about whether our rights are going to be revoked, especially in America with what's going on right now. Like, there's so many people in this country that are afraid of all kinds of different classifications, whether it's sexual orientation or gender or your skin's a little dark. Like, this is frightening right now, and it shouldn't be that way. And we went a long time in this country with there being a level of progressive thought of advancing people's rights and not having it be a deal. And now we're getting to
Hmm.
that. So what you're saying is totally right. You've been shoved into a light that you never wanted to be shoved into. But um
And I've been that, and it's frankly, that's been my entire life
yeah, sure.
from being a young child. So, um, um, and everything comes in waves.
Hmm.
There have been situations in live performance or whatnot where I have shied away from making what I were not really political statements, but could be
Right.
perceived as such.
Sure.
Um, but I'll tell you this, the whole, I mean, again, my recently living in Portugal, which has been quite progressive and is progressive in many ways. But there's an increase in right-wing ideology and political power from a far right.
Yeah.
It's encroached throughout. So the US is not unique, but um, no, it's I never thought I would quite see this, and yet um, it isn't completely surprising
Yep.
because there's always a cause and effect. There's always a backlash.
Hmm.
It's sort of three steps forward, two steps back, and maybe we got a little comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing that's magnanimous about your life and what you said is when we get to this certain age, we're probably in the same range here.
Hmm.
When you lose a parent or parents, it inextricably changes the DNA and structure of your entire life. Everything is going to
Absolutely.
be affected. What have you noticed as far as being creative and getting in that creative space? How do you feel this has affected the way that you're going to make music and perform it and give it to people?
Um, you said it beautifully. It does. Your whole DNA has changed
Yeah.
because your life as you knew it is no longer. It's a new reality. Um, Support systems that were in place are not.
Hmm.
You're an orphan, and you can't understand that until you've gone through it. You can explain it. You
Yep.
can. It's. I think it's like having children. If I don't have children, but until you have one, you
Yeah.
can't. You don't get it. You're just not going to. Um, and I like to think that it. I have fewer F's to give about certain things
Yep.
because I can say that somebody who works in a kind of jazz adjacent kind of thing It's kind of traditional pop. There can be a great emphasis on this where you have to um, engage in vocal improv.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a rule. It's like it's a you have to or else. And I remember I'm forgetting who it was, a major jazz piano singer saying that she felt sort of obligated to improv vocally, even when she didn't want to.
Yeah.
And um, sometimes it can feel a bit forced that the point is that you should do what's comfortable for you
Yeah.
and not worry, if you want a great solo, let a saxophone player do it.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it better than a singer ever could,
Yeah.
frankly, unless you're Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, it's
Right.
just, I mean, and um, I'm sure there are certain jazz singers who will hate me, but it can feel a bit like a party trick sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And where there was an entire generation of singers who focused on narrative and songwriting and great lyrics and didn't concern themselves so much with Scooby Dooby Doo.
Yeah.
And I like to think that maybe as I've gotten older and certain things have happened in my life, that I'm less worried about that or concerned. If you don't, if you feel that I'm not this or not that, that's your right to think so.
Sure.
And I can think I don't care what you think. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I, I, I'm gonna do what's I'm going to play to my strengths and play my ace card and not worry about what is quote unquote expected of me
Yeah.
because life is way too short. We all know that, as we all were locked in rooms for a year and a half,
Yeah.
sticking, tests up our noses and, you know, um, worried if our presence might cause somebody physical harm.
Yeah.
So, um, I like to think that let go of certain
Yeah.
preconceptions.
Absolutely.
But who knows?
Right. Yep, I get it. So the one thing we learned about this pandemic, I think, is that the dollars and cents and the right way to support musicians. Are you on Bandcamp? Where's the best place for people to pick up physical copies of your album?
Um, this album mostly, I have to say, is a digital release
Okay, cool.
because this is still a bit of a bone of contention for me. There's a certain segment of the population and I hope you're not one of them, but critics, radio, who still want a physical copy. The
Right.
reality is that most people, unless you're in the business, do not even own a CD player.
100%.
They
You're
don't
right.
have it in a car, they don't have it on a computer.
100%.
I have a backup external drive for whatever reason,
Uh-huh.
but people will tell me, "Oh, I may have to try to find a CD player." It's just it's a download, like it's
Yeah,
fine.
I know. And I actually am fine with digital. I have a CD player in my car. I have a car old enough, so seeing the world go by with the disc. But people, like, I get a lot of CDs every week in the mailbox, and I'll
Hmm.
rip tracks down and I'll listen to it, but I give it to kids for Halloween, and they're looking at me like something fell out of a spaceship. They're like, "What do I do with this?"
Mommy, what's a CD? It,
What
it might
is
as well be
this?
an 8-track
I
tape,
know.
you know.
You have no
And
idea.
also, you know, the thing that people sometimes don't understand is that putting a record out, depending on what's on it, is very expensive.
Yeah.
And um, CD production, I had to do some for public relations purposes and whatnot, but um, it's not a cheap endeavor.
Right.
From mix to master to musicians to studio to artwork to all of it. And if people are too stuck in a kind of provincial attitude of, oh, it must be in a physical version or else it isn't
Right.
legitimate.
Right.
I mean, I don't really know what to say to that
Yeah.
because um, it shouldn't really downloading an album from a link is not exactly complicated.
Right.
And then it's much cheaper if you're having to send out CDs.
Uh-huh.
There's postage. It's all of these things. And so, a recording, depending, I mean, you can be looking at total costs of 10,000 and up
Yeah, I know.
for everything involved. So, um, um, my Bandcamp is not completely up because of some technical issues, but you can find it on all streaming,
Okay.
Amazon, iTunes, download. It's out there.
Okay.
And my website is petercampbellmusic.com, so all information is there.
And I will put those links in the show notes. This has been wonderful. So great to catch up with you. And like I said, I really genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, it's so good to see everybody. Because before, when we were doing this, I was doing audio. Now that we're doing Zoom, so it's so good to catch up with everybody. Everybody's doing their things. I good luck with the album, and I send all my best with the grieving. I understand what it's like.
Oh,
so,
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. So, take care. Best of luck with all of this, and
You too. Thank you.
hopefully we'll catch up down the line, man.
Sounds good. Take
Thank you.
care.
Take care.
Thanks
See ya.
again.